If you've ever had a job, then workplace safety has been drilled into your mind since day one. And it's there for good reason. If you're a fry cook, it's there so that way you don't accidentally burn yourself on the deep fryer. If you're a construction worker, it's there so that way you don't accidentally nail your hand to a piece of wood. And if you're like me, it's there so that way you don't get crushed by several hundred pounds of meat. This happened about 2 summers ago. I had a job in a meat processing plant near where I lived. And because I was only a summer hire, they gave me the job with the least amount of training possible. It was shoving meat in a box. Very complex, I know. So what I would do is there were 2 conveyor belts. There was one conveyor belt about chest level that would bring various cuts of meat already vacuum sealed and everything. I would grab my particular cut of meat, which in this case was the knuckle, and I would shove it into one of 3 boxes that were at knee level. And I would put 6 of them in a box. And so once that box was full, I would push it forward onto the second conveyor belt, which would take the box away for it to be sealed and ready for distribution. Now, on this particular day, on a fine mid-July morning, the bottom conveyor belt that took the boxes away just stopped. Now, this is nothing new. The conveyor belt stopped like maybe once every 2 to 3 days. But normally it only stops for about 1 to 2 minutes. This particular time it had stopped for about an hour, which is not fun. You see, even though that conveyor belt stops, the top conveyor belt keeps moving, and it keeps bringing various cuts of meat that I have to get. And so once my 3 boxes in front of me were full, I had to keep getting my cuts of meat. So what I would do is I would just put boxes behind me and just put the meat in those boxes. Now, one of the very first things that they had told us when we did our safety training was to not stack anything higher than we were. I should have listened to that, because what ended up happening is I ended up having a stack of about 7 boxes behind me. 2 of them, actually. With 6 pieces of meat at about like 6 pounds a piece. It's well over 300 pounds per stack. So, it's a lot of meat. So, I have my 2 stacks of 7. The conveyor belt is still out. The meat is still coming. And so I have to keep getting the meat before it goes off into oblivion. And so I keep putting the meat on top of the 3 boxes in front of me. This accumulated into a little bit of a meat mountain, if you will. So eventually, the bottom conveyor belt begins to move again. Hallelujah. And so I'm thinking, all right, I need to get all this meat into boxes and into the bottom conveyor belt. Luckily for me, I see like a little gap that I could shove a box into. So I'm thinking, cool, I could just get a box from one of the top of the stack and just put it in there so I could have more room to move around. So I turn around and I get one of the boxes from the top. But I guess that the box had caught on the box below it, and so when I pulled it towards me, it had pulled the rest of the stack with it, and so the whole stack just kind of like started leaning against me, and eventually it just kind of started toppling over, and I'm still holding on to that box, so I'm trying to push the box to push the stack against it, but it's really heavy, and so it's pushing against me. But luckily for me, I had that meat mountain in front of me. So my back was braced against this meat mountain. So there I am, just pushing back against several hundred pounds of meat, trying not to get squished, my life flashing before my eyes. Thinking, this is how I die. I should have listened to when they told me not to stack things this high. But luckily for me, I was only in this position for about a minute before one of my coworkers saw me and helped me regain my composure. Moral of the story. Workplace safety is there for a reason. Listen to it, because if you don't, you're just going to get crushed by several hundred pounds of meat. Thank you.